Good evening and welcome to Estuary TV News. In tonight's show, a composer born in Grimsby, Patrick Hawes, storms the classical charts with his latest album, and Richard has all the sports news. But first, here's James Dunn with the news headlines.
Hello, in the headlines today, another major project to add to the regeneration of Grimsby's town centre, and tractors take over Barnetby to raise money for charity. Plans for a multi-million-pound leisure complex with a multi-screen cinema in Grimsby town centre could create 200 new jobs in the area. North East Lincolnshire Council plans to release a pocket of land known as Riverhead Square to the company that owns Freshney Place shopping centre. The central square used to house Grimsby's main bus station, but a brand new station opened yesterday, built as part of the council's £6 million town centre regeneration project. Individual retailers have not yet been announced, but it's hoped that the facilities will bring people back to the town centre.
Well, it was part of the original plan to see something develop in the town centre, and it's great that F&C RIA have come along and they're going to actually build an extension to Freshney Place, which has got leisure facilities with it, which is, like say, restaurants, multi-screen cinema. It's good for the town centre, it's good for the nighttime economy, it's good for local people because it'll create local jobs. It's a chance to regenerate the town centre, and that's what regeneration is. It's about making your town centres vibrant. We took the risk of doing the bus station and doing the open area to get developers to invest in the town centre. We've got this being announced today. In April we've got another multi-million-pound development. This is a £12 million development into Grimsby town centre. You know, it's a fantastic news for the town.
The face of retailing has changed over a number of years, and no longer is it just about shopping. It's a full leisure experience, and Freshney Place is a very successful scheme, but unfortunately it doesn't offer that aspect of retailing. And so what we want to do is build the leisure block to give a full experience for our customers. I think what we had before was very outdated, and that's why unfortunately, you know, it closed and wasn't very successful, and we closed it down and brought in some great retailing. And that was because, you know, that you have to evolve with the times, and again, times have changed, and family dining and the cinema is very important to the leisure aspect of shopping, and that's why we're adding it to the scheme.
Councillors are discussing a bid to hold the BAFTAs in Hull during its City of Culture Year 2017. It would have to build a purpose-built facility in order to host the event, which pulls in Hollywood A-listers and is watched all over the world. But the council say at this stage there are no firm plans. Lincolnshire County Council has signed a deal worth more than £70 million, handing over service delivery functions to strategic partners Serco. It's transferred functions including finance, HR, ICT and customer services operations to Serco, which already works with many other local councils including Hull and North East Lincolnshire. The 5-year deal is worth more than £70 million but will save the council £14 million. It also leaves scope for the council to transfer more services to Serco and extend the deal for up to 4 more years. A missing teenager has been found safe and well after disappearing for nearly 2 weeks. 16-year-old Emma Goodwin was reported missing on March 12th, and police launched a wide-scale appeal for information. But she's now been found, and police have thanked all the people who volunteered info. Another girl, 14-year-old Megan Burns-Smith, was also reporting missing 2 days later on March the 14th, but she has also returned home safe. Work will start today on a £5 million Orchard Park affordable housing project to replace tower block Bridgeman House in Holmthorpe, Hull. Councillor John Black will place the first spade in the ground for the 52 new homes, part of a wider regeneration project in the area. The project includes plans to later improve existing properties, redevelop the local shopping precinct and refurbish nearby multi-storey flats. A 27-year-old man and a 28-year-old woman from Rotherham have been arrested in connection with 6 distraction burglaries in North and North East Lincolnshire. They were arrested on Thursday following the release of CCTV footage showing a man, a woman and a child believed to be responsible for the offences. Motorists can expect more delays on Hull's Holderness Road for the next 2 weeks. The eastbound carriageway will be closed between Woodford Leisure Centre and Westminster Avenue for essential highway repairs. The work started but was briefly delayed because of unexpected issues, but recommenced again yesterday. Dozens of vintage tractors lined up for a big ride out in the annual Barnetby Tractor Run on Sunday. It was a sight and sound to behold as the engines left from Barnetby Railway Yard under the gaze of hundreds of spectators in aid of Lindsay Lodge Hospice. And if you like what you see but miss the action, you'll get another chance soon enough. There will be tractor runs in Louth, Grainthorpe, Tetney, Loughborough and Great Limber throughout May and June. And 10 tractors will be travelling from Blackpool Pier to Cleethorpes Pier this summer. Find out more about that journey on Estuary TV News later this week. That's all from me. See you next time.
Now, earlier I was lucky enough to meet with Patrick Hawes, a composer from Grimsby, whose latest release, Angel, has reached number 2 in the classical charts. Can I start by saying it's an absolute pleasure having you with us today?
It's wonderful to be here.
So if I can start by asking you, from Grimsby, what kind of influence has that had on you personally and your career?
Well, I think there's something about the Grimsby people which is very open and honest, and I think that's been the most important influence on me as a person and also on my music. I mean, I was born actually just a few hundred yards down the road, and then my mum and dad became publicans in Caister and then in Skegness. And I just learnt to be comfortable and open with people, even though I went on to teach in some pretty posh public schools. and I think this is, as I say, I think it's helped to create in my music an openness and an honesty.
Because that's it, isn't it, in your career? You didn't start out in music, you had a few, or even if your other jobs were involved in music, it wasn't particularly composing that you went into straight off, was it?
No, it wasn't. No, I began as a teacher. And I began to write music when I was asked by the head of English in the school to write music for a Shakespeare play, which I did, and discovered I had quite a natural sort of gift for it. I obviously read music at university. I went to Durham University and thought about composing then, but the approach to composing was so weird and modern, and writing pieces of music for mobile phones and saucepans, you know, hitting saucepans. It was so weird and avant-garde. I thought, this isn't for me. But then, as I say, I wrote music for a school play, and then I was asked to write music for the school choir, and everything grew from that, really.
And would you say your style is more of the old-fashioned, would you say, or the older kind of influences?
Yes, I think so. When I was at university, I actually stayed on for a year to do an MA and studied the music of the period 1550 to 1650, which is pretty old. That's the period when the major and minor chords were developing. And those are the chords, of course, we use all the way through to the present day. Bach used them, the Beatles used them. But I studied the period when that all evolved, and I think that really helped to shape my music. And yes, my music's very much rooted in the past, though I believe it's also music of the present. Like the other day, we were listening to Classic FM, to the chart countdown, and I was number 2 in the classical charts last week. But we were listening to Tchaikovsky, Rachmaninoff, Beethoven, and all of a sudden they played my music. And even though it's got an echo with the past, it really sounds as if it's of the modern day somehow.
And did you ever expect that your music would be in the charts? Did you ever expect that you'd be sat there in the car and be able to listen to something you've created?
No, to be honest. I mean, who would, you know? Yeah. The thing was, I was a teacher for 16 years, and then I had these openings to be a composer, and people were really encouraging and saying, you should really try and do this. So I thought, well, before I'm 40, I'm going to try and do this. So I gave up teaching, which was pretty hairy, I can tell you. I mean, to be without a full-time salary. And I put all my efforts, all my money into my first album. And lo and behold, it was made CD of the week on Classic FM back in, that was 10 years ago actually, almost exactly, February 2004. Now that was very weird, hearing my music over the airwaves and knowing that 6 or 7 million people were listening to it. But I've got slightly used to it now, but it still humbles me, and I feel privileged that that's the case.
And have you always had a supportive network around you? Have you always had people that have inspired you and helped, you know, make you who you are? Really?
Yeah, exactly. And that all relates back to the Grimsby thing, you know, because we're very good at family, aren't we, around here?
Yeah.
You know, we all stick together and help one another through thick and thin. And, you know, when my dad owned the pub in Skegness, it was a holiday pub, obviously. And everybody would get up on the stage and sing their party piece. And my dad used to sing all the Max Bygrave songs. And my bedroom was just above the concert room, it was called. And I'm sure that's where I got all these kind of ideas going through my...
And do you think I heard somewhere about melody as well, that you picked up melodies when you were younger from listening to the, you know, this music that was around? That's
exactly right. My brother, who's a priest actually in the south of Lincolnshire, also born in a Grimsby, and he was actually a curate on the marsh in Grimsby for a few years. But he always says that I can write tunes because my bedroom was above the pub and I was constantly hearing all these lovely pub melodies, you know. That's fantastic though. What a story is that to tell, going from listening to this music to, you know, being in the classical charts. It's pretty incredible, isn't it? Yeah. But it wouldn't have happened if I was from Guildford or London. It's all because I'm from this area, and it goes back to what I said at the very start, this openness and honesty. Do you think there's the opportunities for young people from this region to succeed when it comes to classical music or within that genre? Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking in the magazine for the Grimsby Institute, and I see they do courses on music, a BA in creative music and in performance. I mean, that's brilliant because it gives young people a chance to focus their interest. And, you know, I believe that all the great poets and writers and musicians to come over the next 50 years, there's absolutely every chance there'll be from this kind of background, just as much so as if they're from a sort of a more, not necessarily a privilege, because we have a lot of privilege here, but do you know what I mean, where they maybe have a history in the family of being teachers or writers or performers, you know what I mean? Yeah. Now here's Richard York with the sport.
Thank you very much. Hello, and here is the sport news. Hull defeated West Brom 2-0 at the KC at the weekend. The match saw a rare goal from Liam Rosiner, which was backed up by a finish from Shane Long. On Wednesday, the Tigers will be heading to Upton Park to face off against West Ham. 22 was definitely a lucky number for Scunthorpe United as they extended their unbeaten streak to 22 games on Saturday after beating Burton 1-0 in the Sky Bet League 2. The Iron look set to extend their run to 23 games tonight as they face Cheltenham. Grimsby Town are back in the Skrill Premier League playoff places after a narrow 1-0 win at Nuneaton thanks to a goal from Alex Rodman. Tonight they face league leaders Luton at Blundell Park as they look to build on Saturday's result. Lincoln travel back from Gateshead empty-handed after losing 3-1 with their only goal coming from sub John Nolan. North Therapy are down to second place in the Conference North after losing 1-0 at Guiseley. Cleethorpes Town beat Eccleshill United 2-1 to go top of the Toolstation Northern Counties East League Division 1. Meanwhile, Louth United beat Appleby Fodringham 2-0. Unfortunately, it was bad news for Grimsby Borough, who lost 4-1 at Worsborough Bridge Athletic. On Tuesday evening, they will face Shirebrook Town as they look to improve on the weekend's performance. Barnaby United suffered a disappointing 5-0 loss at home to Swinefleet Juniors in the TSW Printers Scunthorpe and District Division 1. In Evo Stick League Northern Premier First Division South, Brigtown lost 4-0 at home to Leek Town. In rugby, Market Raise and Louth lost 15-0 to Huntington and District First. Grimsby were defeated 44-19 at Lincoln, and Cleethorpes didn't fare any better as they lost 11-6 at home to Chesterfield Panthers. In basketball, the Hull Wasps lost 78-81 to Newcastle under Lyme College Knights in the playoffs. In men's hockey, Grimsby first drew 1-1 with their Slazenger first counterparts, but Grimsby second lost 7-2 to Normanby Park.
Thank you, Richard. That's it from Estuary TV News. Join us again tomorrow. Until then, from all of us, goodbye.